everyone, welcome to Lesson 1. Lesson 1 is all about documents and publications that you're going to be looking at throughout your ground school and flight training. Basically, any question that you're going to be asked during your flight training is going to come, the information anyway, is going to come from a document published by the FAA or the federal government. Let's start out by talking about the most common thing that you're going to be hearing throughout basically all of it. 14 CFR Part 91, and then some other numbers along with that. What does 14 CFR Part 91 mean? Let's look at this on the iPad real quick. This website that I'm on is called ecfr.gov. It says Electronic Code of Federal Regulations. Well, the Code of Federal Regulations itself is just the big book of rules that the U.S. government has created. If you want to know about, let's say, the president, yeah, you go for it. You can click on Title 3, which is like a chapter in the Code of Federal Regulations, and then you can go learn about presidential documents. Let's just wait for it to load there, and you can kind of see that it will just gives you, it takes you to a different page. So ecfr.gov is a great website to go to. Now, you might have noticed that this is a ground school for airplanes, not the president. Don't worry, we got you covered. So in the Code of Federal Regulations is Title 14. 14 CFR. Which is talking all about aeronautics and space. That's probably what we want to look at. So, on ecfr.gov, you can click on Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations and click Go, which brings you to another subpage. Now, Title 14 talks about a bunch of different stuff. You are going to be most interested in 60 to 109. More specifically, Part 61, Part 91, and a couple others we'll touch on a little bit later. So, you're going to go through the fourth category over there where it says Browse Parts, and you're going to click 60 to 109. And then you're going to get a bunch of different topics. So, Part 14 CFR Part, let's go to 91. Right there, General Operating and Flight Rules. So, this is all breaking down here. So, Part 91 has other little sections in it. Part 91.1, 91.3, 91.103, and so on and so forth. This is how you navigate and find Federal Aviation Regulations, FARs. Now, the FARs themselves are also published in a book. They're also available on the iPad, and I've got this little app over here that breaks them all down. This is the FAR AIM. FAR, we already explained it, it's Federal Aviation Regulations. AIM is Aeronautical Information Manual. The FAR's regulations, it's lawyer talk. So, you're going to learn to be a lawyer. You're not actually going to be a lawyer. The AIM is really great. If you're ever confused about something, the AIM is one of the greatest places you can go. It breaks down, the duties of air traffic control, what air traffic control expects from you. As an example, it'll break down things into a little bit more easy to understand than the Federal Aviation Regulations, and we'll look at that a little more in detail later on. Anyway, this is a pretty good app. It's the ASA FAR AIM. It's the same information you're going to get in a book. It costs $10. I highly recommend that if you've got an iPad or an iPhone, you go download this. It's going to make your flight training universe a lot easier to access. You can go to Part 91 and you can see all the same information is going to be right there. You want to know about pre-flight action? Boom. You got it. It's all right there. So that's the FARs right there. The app also has the ability to go and scroll down to the AIM, right down here at the bottom. It's got several chapters that explain things in a little more detail. If you want to know about helicopter operations, it's an airplane course, but say you did, there's Chapter 10. You can go through here, and it lists it out like the FAR AIM, but it makes it a little bit less lawyery. So, you might have an easier time understanding that. Another good reference is the FAA website, FAA.gov. FAA.gov has everything that you're going to need. handbooks, testing documents. It even gives you a link to go to the Federal Aviation Regulations. Let's take a look at this on the iPad. So this is the FAA's website on the home page here, and you can kind of see where it says regulations and guidelines. It's got a ton of links there. Let's see, it'll give you the option to go to the Federal Aviation Regulations, and it can give you a whole bunch of things to kind of go through. If you click Current Federal Aviation Regulations, where does it take you? Yep, ecfr.gov, exactly where we were. So let's go back to we're on the home page here. So FAA.gov is a great website. Specifically what I want to direct your attention to is over in the top right corner where it says training and testing. Just click on that little guy. You can see it says training resources and guides. You're going to want to click on that too. This is where you're going to find all the FAA handbooks that you're going to be using throughout your flight training. On the training and testing page, you can see under guides, it has training handbooks. We're going to go click on that. You can see several different categories here. The two handbooks that we're going to look at, you're going to find those under handbooks and manuals, aviation. You see clicking it right there. We're going to just click on that. We're going to open it up. Now, the two big ones here, Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, also known as the PHAC, and the Airplane Flying Handbook. Let's look at the Airplane Flying Handbook right here. Right here, FAA insert number. Alright, so here you can see a list of kind of a table of contents here. The Airplane Flying Handbook is everything you need to know about flying airplanes. Not everything, but it's a guide on flying airplanes. You know, how flight controls are working, your flight maneuvers here. Upset prevention and recovery training. That's a good chapter. You'll touch on that quite a bit during your flight training for sure. Another handbook that you can find here is the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Notice how each one of these comes with a little code at the end of it. Most of them anyway. The PHAC here is, I'll bring it up to the top there, it's FAA-H-8083-25B. That's a mouthful. It's the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. But in another document I'm going to show you, that document is going to reference that specific number. We'll touch on that in a minute. Here's the PHAC. You can see all the different chapters associated with it. If you want to learn about the aerodynamics of flight, that's chapter 5. Just click on that guy and it's going to load the whole thing up. And it gives you everything you need to do. You can also buy these in a book format at an FBO or online. They're available as well. But this is free. The next document that I want to introduce is the ACS, which stands for Airman Certification Standards. The ACS is an official testing document that pilot examiners use for the check ride. If you ever want to know what needs to be covered on the check ride, it's in the ACS. Let's look at it. So under the Training and Testing tab on the FAA website, we're going to go look at resources this time. And we are going to look at Airman Testing Information, the third bullet point down. Click on that. And then in Testing Resources there, we're going to click on Practical Test Standards. So let's look here at this little website right here. It's Practical Test Standards, Pilots, Airline Transport, Commercial, Private. That is probably what we want, right? So Private Pilot Airman Certification Standards. You can see the publication date and when it was last changed. So let's look at it for airplane. It's going to bring you into a PDF, and this is exactly what it's going to look like. You can buy this in a book format as well, but this is free. So why not? Keep those costs low. Alright, so Private Pilot Airplane Airman Certification Standards, June of 2018. Make sure that's your current version, otherwise you will be referencing the wrong stuff and maybe you'll get asked questions on your check ride that you might not be expecting per the book. You can keep scrolling through here. This kind of breaks it down into a know, consider, and do format. It kind of explains it when you click on using the ACS a little bit, or maybe not so much, but let's look at pre-flight preparation. The ACS breaks things down into a know, consider, and do format. Looking at this, it'll give you a task, pilot qualifications. You know, we're going to talk about what is required of you to become a private pilot. References, Remember that big long number we were looking at for the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge? Well, that's one of them in there. It's the second to last one. It gives you an objective. Now, know, consider, and do. Knowledge. Know. What you need to know. Oral questions are going to be asked here, maybe even in the airplane as well. So know the information included in here. Where can that information be found? In the references. So that's how you use this guy. Consider. Risk management right there. Examiners are going to give you some sort of scenario. It might be an emergency scenario, it might not be. You are expected to be able to exercise good judgment, aeronautical decision making. That is what we're looking for in the consider section, the risk management. And there's a handbook all about risk management. You want to know where you can find that? Well, it's one of the things referenced up in the top there, under the references. Do. That's the skills section. What are you going to be doing out in the airplane? Well, you can know exactly what you're going to be doing out in the airplane by looking at the skills section right there. The applicant demonstrates the ability to. Bam. List it out right there. You can list it out for just about everything. You want to do maneuvers? It's going to be somewhere down in here. Flight deck management, you know, all that stuff. You want to do maneuvers? It's going to be listed in the ACS. The last document I want to introduce to you is called an advisory circular. An advisory circular is a document that goes into a little bit more detail than maybe the handbook might. So let's have a look at where we can find those. Let's go back to the FAA's website for a second. Home page, look at regulations and guidelines, click on advisory circulars. Now, let's say we want to know about the traffic pattern. Recommended standard traffic patterns. It pops up with an example there. And it says canceled, but this is an example that I'll show you. So we'll search for that, and it should give you this guy. You can keep clicking until you can find it open. And you can see that this advisory circular here was made in 1990. It gives you an AC number as well, 90-42F. And then it kind of goes through, and you can see how this might list out a whole bunch of different things about the certain topic that you are looking to learn about. Again, all these are completely free. You can find them on the FAA's website. We'll be referencing these throughout the entire training program. I hope this has helped you learn a little bit more about the documents that we're going to be using during our ground school, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.